Good morning. So, that last clip, man, a lot of people were like, "Wow, you guys are committed to be pitchforking loose hay into your barn." But first of all, our barn is set up for loose hay. It's a very old barn, and that's how it was set up, was for loose hay, because that's how they did it. And honestly, I mean, I grew up as a kid putting up thousands and thousands of square bales per summer, because we did 10 to 12 fields here in this area. Growing up, we made lots and lots of hay, sold lots of hay. So honestly, I think pitchforking the loose stuff might actually be easier than handling the square bales. It wasn't that bad. It seems like a lot of work. It was more time than anything. It was time consuming, but it wasn't that like strenuous. And the other thing was that it was kind of surreal, standing in that barn pitchforking hay into the bays, and it was a whole nother level of connection to this property. It felt, I'm a very spiritual person, probably a little bit dramatically spiritual. And if you're like that, you understand what I'm saying. But it just was a connection that I was super grateful to have. It felt very rewarding to work this property the way that it was worked hundreds of years ago. Not even that far ago, because my great-grandfather used to put up loose hay. So, it just, every time we get to do something a little bit old school on this property, it feels very rewarding, and it feels very connecting. You feel very connected to the origins of the property and to the people that worked this property before us. Okay. It's now afternoon. My morning got bombarded. Sometimes the kids give me an hour before they get up. Sometimes they get up with me. This morning, they only gave me a few minutes. Anyways, all right, let's dive in to the breeding pig information. So, breeding age, you're looking at 6 to 10 months when your pig is ready to be bred, and that really depends on what breed you have. The smaller pigs, the Kuni-Kunis, the Mangalitsa's, the Idaho pasture pigs, all tend to be ready later, closer to the 10-month mark, especially if you're putting them in with a mature boar, because these breeds don't mature that quickly. Now, Yorkshires, Durocs, Berkshires, all those large breeds, even the Mulefoots, if I remember correctly, our Mulefoots were big enough at 6 months too. Old Spots, 6 to 8 months is plenty of time, and you can breed them that early. Use your best judgment. Look at your pig's health. Look at their weight. Look at how they're doing. Look at the boar that they're going to be in with. But do know that your boars will start wanting to breed at like 4 to 6 months. So any females you don't want bred, you're going to want to skedaddle them right out of the boar pen. The other thing, and this is the most important thing, at least in my opinion, is you want lean pigs, lean sows, okay? A gilt or a sow that is lean rather than fat and overweight. Remember, just because they're pigs doesn't mean they have to be fat. That is my biggest saying. I say that to everybody. Lean pigs can take a breeding quicker. They can handle being bred in the heat. They're not going to squish piglets regularly. And they're not going to have farrowing complications as often. A fat, overweight sow will have farrowing complications. So, when people tell me that they're struggling with their sows on one end or the other, the first thing I ask them is, how much does she weigh? How heavy is she? A gilt, a first time 6 to 8 month old gilt that is going in with a boar should not be huge 400, 500 pound live weight sow. That's extremely unhealthy, and that's not where you want her to be. So I keep my sows fairly lean. I don't free feed my breeder pigs. My breeder pigs get a specific amount of feed, and that's it. Farrowing. So this is where I will probably differ from others, but I am very confident in the way that I do things here. It works. We have healthy, durable, fast-growing piglets leave our farm regularly. We have excellent sows. We don't assist sows here. We don't have to because of these specifics and how specific we are in our breeding. So I'll start with saying my cull list can be very extensive and very long. And a lot of people may not understand that. A lot of people spend a lot of time and money on one animal that they should just cull. And that may sound a little harsh, but I'm taking people's money for a lot of these piglets. They're sold as feeder piglets, and I'm responsible for the product that I put out. I'm responsible for the animal that I put out. I sell a lot of breeders now that we have registered Idaho pasture pigs. So I'm very picky about what we have here. A building where they can still access the outside. That's the other thing. Our piglets can always access the outside. We just have to keep a close eye on them for the first week or so to make sure they're not getting into trouble. We've never lost a piglet, we've never had anything get hurt to the point where it dies because it was outside. But so everybody has access to the outside 24/7. But other than that one door that they can go outside to, the farrowing pens are completely closed in. They're, wind, waterproof, they're not going to get rained on. And then they have hay or straw, and that's it. Unless it's really looking dangerous, unless it's really dipping down into those negatives and I notice that there is struggling going on, I do not supply extra heat for my piglets ever. That's not a thing. They get hay. My sows are not separated from the piglets. The piglets they don't have a separate area for themselves to get away from their mothers, because a sow that lays on piglets enough for that to be a problem does not stay on my farm. If it is deadly cold out and I see that they are struggling, we will supply extra heat for as little time as possible. Heat lamps and supplied extra added heat only creates livestock that cannot survive in brutal conditions. That's all it's doing. Now, this is where breeding pigs can be something that somebody thinks that they're gonna just do to produce feeder piglets, sell them real quick, real easy, have it be just an easy process overall. You don't have to put much thought in it. They buy a couple of mutt pigs. They're all over the place. They grow great for meat, whatever. And then they end up with aggressive boars. They end up with sows that aren't great at farrowing. But I would really love to see people start breeding pigs towards at least good character. Know what you want out of your breeding. If you're going to go into breeding pigs, if you don't go into it seriously with a game plan, you're probably going to end up not doing it for very long. The turnaround rate for people that breed pigs is very, very high. I think maybe 30% of the people that I help start on their breeding journey with pigs, about 30% of it survive the first 2 years. So know what you're looking for. Do you want a fast-growing pig? Do you want a slow-growing pig? Do you want something in the middle? Do you want a pig that puts out a whole bunch of lard? Do you want a pig that's lean? Do you want a long bacon pig? Do you want a wide ham and shoulder pig? Know what you're looking for, and then breed for those characteristics, but watch the temperaments. A pig with a bad temperament can be a very dangerous animal very quickly. A pig that is just left alone 24/7, thrown food at twice a day, and that's it, will kill a chicken if it goes into its pen. It will kill a cat or a dog if it goes into its pen. I specified on my last video that spending time with your pigs is the most important thing you can do. So you want your pigs to be used to you being in the pen and handling them. Going into breeding, you want to breed for those specifics. You want to breed. You do not want to take a boar with a bad attitude and start breeding him. I have never had a boar on this farm that couldn't be in with his own piglets, be in with my kids, be in with the dogs, the chickens, the turkeys. All of our smaller animals that free range have access to the pig pen, and they're in there all the time, or the pig pastures, I should say. And you will not catch any pig of any breed on this farm attacking the chickens, the turkeys, the dogs, the cats. That will not happen. Our piglets, almost always for the last 6 years, our piglets could get, in and out of the fencing. It's just for a couple weeks, they're just that small. It is what it is. And they have access to the boar. They have access to their dad. We have never had a boar be aggressive with a piglet ever here. I have pictures of boars napping with their piglets. I have video footage of Gordo. He's trying to eat out of his dish, and he's got 8 piglets surrounded his dish eating it for him. And if you breed for those good qualities, your life as a pig breeder will be so much easier, and your customers will definitely appreciate it when they're taking them home for 6 months. A few things that I want to touch base on really quick about things that you might encounter while breeding pigs that you may not have expected. These are things that happen that I see a lot of people immediately stop breeding pigs because they didn't know that this could happen. Sows can and will turn aggressive like the second they start farrowing. It is the weirdest thing ever. It's got to be a hormonal thing, a neurological thing. I don't know. But a sow, a gentle, nice to handle sow, can all of a sudden want you dead, want her piglets dead the next morning after farrowing. Here, that sow is put immediately on the cull list because usually they don't really come out of that aggression. We had a sow that was, she was a bottle baby, so she was super gentle, easy to handle, easy to move around. And her first farrowing, Paul went out to check on everything, and she had killed all but one piglet and was trying to kill the other piglet. And Paul went into the barn stall, and she turned and she cornered him, and he actually ended up like climbing up the wall to get away from her, and she ran out the door. So he shut the door, he grabbed the piglet, and then he had to run from her in the great big pasture to get the piglet out of the pasture because she was chasing him at that point as well. And I'm not saying that to scare anybody away from breeding pigs, but these are animals. While breeding animals, you're always going to come across difficult things. There's a saying that I heard Jessica Sowards at Roots and Refuge say, and now I use it all the time, and it was, where there's livestock, there is dead stock. And there's nothing more truthful than that. When you put a bunch of animals on the property, the odds of death just go up naturally. There's more animals there. Just like if you put a bunch of humans in one room, the odds are there are a couple humans in that room that may be weaker health-wise. They're, weaker physically. Going into homesteading or farming, that's something that will really help you if you're prepared for it, rather than going in blindly. Now, I could spiel all day about breeding pigs and what we do versus what other people do, or the experiences we've had. Really, today's video was just to touch on the basics. I don't want to make it too long. You guys are more than welcome to comment and ask all of your questions. Email us, ask all the questions, message us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram. Any questions or concerns you have going into the breeding season. It is almost time to put those pigs in with the boars. We're waiting on fall litters right now, and then our girls will go in with the boars in December. Reach out if you're trying to figure stuff out, if you have questions. Thank you guys hugely for stopping in and joining us and subscribing and sharing. I wish you guys luck on all of your piggy adventures, and we will talk soon. Happy homesteading.